Okay, so the last piece that we're gonna do is kind of add some of the physics that we've been doing earlier into this kind of basketball. Now, this asset isn't ideal. I've been kind of looking at it because um, this is all one object, like the hoop and stuff aren't separated. If we had more time, or usually what I would do, or if you're a 3D modeler, you would kind of go in and actually like cut this part out and make it into something that could be a collider. But what we're actually going to do is we're going to do something a little more ghetto than that. Is we're going to just use like some cubes. So if you just make some like a cube and you pull it right by the hoop, and we're going to make them like very kind of thin and tiny, kind of like this. And we're going to try to just make a rim out of these cubes for us to collide with. That's basically the deal. So let's go ahead and just kind of start doing that. It's going to be a little harder for you guys, but this is also good practice for that stuff that we did yesterday. It's kind of placing, rotating, and just kind of like assembling your scene a little bit. So I kind of want to almost make it like a rough kind of circle out of cubes. And then if it's really tiny, you can always press F to just kind of focus on it, and then you could navigate the camera a little bit better around it. So it doesn't have to be too robust. It could be just like, you know, very simple.
You can do a cylinder, or that wouldn't
So there's no such thing as a hollow cylinder that's already in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be like a full cylinder.
It'd be solid.
Yeah, exactly. I could. So just make a cube for just a game object cube, and then just kind of scale it down like this into like a nice like rectangle type shape. And it's like square. A cube to a square is what to a rectangle? What do you call like a 3D rectangle?
Rectangle brick. I don't know.
I always say rectangle shape, but it's not a rectangle. It's like rectangle is 2D.
Right.
It's a little tricky, but it's good practice.
I feel you.
It's good practice. This is what you need. And then once you have it, we'll test it with the sphere and drop it through, like right above it, and just see if it like will, you know, if it fits. If it doesn't fit, you make your sphere a little smaller, and then it should fit. There we go. So mine looks like this. So, and you won't see this. We'll actually hide it. You know, we'll just use their colliders. So it'll look like the rim that's under it.
That's the idea.
Nice.
It's just getting
Oh, dude, so much better than mine.
it's getting the first one and then just rotating it.
There you go.
So.
Oh, that's way better than mine. Yeah, and then the next thing, if you're already done,
Oh, boom, right. I should.
make the backboard as well.
Okay.
And then once you get that done, make a sphere, size it up so it's just shy smaller than your rim. Make sure it's not touching any of the edges. So that means it will be able to fall through, and then test it. Put a rigid body on it and see if it falls through. Make the backboard as well. Just kind of fit a cube right over the backboard. And then once you got the backboard done, make a sphere and try to size it to your rim. You can call the sphere a basketball. Yeah, so like when you kind of size it like this, you should be able to push it right up to the edges. But, you don't have to. This should be like fine. And then I'm going to test it just by putting a rigid body on it and just play and see if it falls through. If it falls through, then we're good. Yep, so you're good. And then I'll show you what happens next. How are we doing so far?
Now just resizing the
All
Is there
right.
a fast way to scale everything proportionately?
If
Or
you
do I have
just
to
make them all child objects of another object, and then scale the
no sphere?
parent object.
I've been doing XYZ and then putting it across. Is there a way to grab the whole sphere and scale it?
Yeah, just grab it by the middle here.
Oh, the middle. Okay,
Yep.
that's what
So
I think I got this.
I want to find like a basketball texture, just cause, like something like this is perfect. We're close enough. And I'm just gonna put that on my ball, and it's like almost kind of it, but maybe I want to tile it. Uh, something like this.
Oh, for the rim. Show me again how do we group? How do we create?
Yep.
Okay.
So create an empty object, and then just kind of move that empty object to this game object, create empty, then move it into like the center of the objects you want to parent to,
Okay.
and then just grab all those, I think except for this one for me, because that's the rim, I mean that's the backboard, and then put it in here, and then there it is.
and the tiling to make it like normal or something.
Say that again.
Like the tiling.
Oh, I made it 2 by 1. Yeah. Which texture is used? Does it look like this?
First one. Yeah. It's just like a squiggly line on mine.
Should we do 2 by 1? Let me see.
This one?
It's fine. You just maybe looking at it from like the wrong angle. I was looking. It just mine looks exactly the same from the top. Yeah, it's not gonna be perfect because it's just a unity sphere. But so you should all have this set up already, right? So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab all these cubes that you used to make the rim, just select them all at the same time, and then in the components here, just uncheck Mesh Renderer. It'll basically just disable the Mesh Renderer. You won't be able to see it, but the collider will still be there. You see that?
So wait a minute.
So select all of them together.
I don't think I did added a collider to it.
They have a
Oh,
collider
they
already.
already
Yeah,
have it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So grab all of these. And
Disable this Mesh Renderer.
oh, I see.
Then do the same thing with the backboard as well. Just disable the Mesh Renderer. Now you have some nice colliders for the sphere, or for this basketball to actually, collide around. So then I want you to take, so you should have already sized your basketball. So now I want you to take your basketball and, let me see what would be the best way to do this. Well, we want it right in front of the AR camera. That's kind of the idea. Let's see here. Yeah, take the ball and open this camera parent, our AR camera. So take the basketball and pull it into the main camera as a child object of the main camera. And then I want you to reset the position X, Y, and Z to 0, and then it should pull it right into the camera, the ball. Let me know when you have that done.
So
Pull the basketball into the main camera.
Oh, the main camera. Not just
Yeah, the camera parent. Yeah, in the main camera, and then make its position all 0. Then once you have that done, pull the basketball back out of the camera somewhere, just like right outside between some objects. And then let me think here. Actually, no, put it back into the main camera. And then just push it a little bit forward like that, so you can see it actually show up in front of the camera. And then maybe like move it down a little bit, so it's kind of like on the bottom. So this will basically just have it like that. Yeah.
Does it matter that should my main camera point at the?
Nope, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So now this is gonna be. There's a few different ways to do this. It's gonna, there's a trickier way, and then there's like an easier way. So let me see if I can think about how to do it the easiest way. So basically what we want to do is we want to shoot this ball. Right now the ball is just kind of like a prop almost. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna have a duplicate ball that's actually gonna be the one that's gonna shoot. So what's gonna happen is this one's gonna shoot, and this one's gonna turn off. So for the most part, you'll just see like it'll actually look like you're shooting that same ball, but it'll be like an illusion kind of. So I want you to duplicate this basketball, and then I want you to pull out the duplicate. You're not really gonna have to, but you know it's better to. Yeah, so just duplicate that basketball, and you know you could pull it out a little bit just so you can see it right there. And then the duplicated one, the second one, you should add a physics component to it, so a rigid body.
It already has it from the other one. Or I did it because
Yeah,
I
you should
needed to test it.
you should remove the rigid body from the one that's
The first
in the main camera,
Okay.
because we don't want it to fall off the screen. Like we want it to stay in that part of the screen.
So to remove rigid body, do I just is it
You right click the name of it and then remove component. Yep, perfect. So now what we're gonna do is take that second basketball that we have, that we duplicated, and I want you to pull it into your project to basically save it as a prefab right there. And you should see that the basketball then will just kind of show up. And then once you've pulled it into your project and saved it, you can delete it from the scene here, the blue one. It should turn blue after you pull it into the project. When it turns blue again, what that means is it gets turned into what's called a prefab, which is a prefabricated object, which basically now you could pull that basketball, out a bunch of times, and it's like it has that rigid body and all that other good stuff that we wanted to have. So so there's gonna be a bunch of steps to kind of get this done. So let me think here. Basically, we need to detect if this raycast, right now we're just kind of checking the raycast for it hitting any plane, but we should also check the raycast if it hits our dummy ball in the bottom of our screen. So if it hits our dummy ball, then it'll create a ball that'll just kind of like have some physics that'll basically just make it go up. So it's same thing in our camera placement script. I guess camera placement is no longer like an accurate description of the script. It should probably be something more descriptive, but it's fine for now. But basically, what we're gonna do up here, right under object to place, we're also gonna do public transform ball prefab, and then we'll do another one, public transform ball dummy, something like that. So save that script, go into Unity, and then check on your main camera, the camera placement script. It should have 2 more slots there, right under object to place. Just give it a second to compile. There's ball prefab and there's ball dummy. So in the ball prefab slot, you want to drag the one from the project. The reason why we're doing this is because when something is in a prefab in the project, that's what's going to allow us to what's called instantiate, which is basically clone an object into the scene at runtime. So it'll basically create it. Just like how when you drag something from the project, you're creating it in the Unity scene. We're going to do that, but in code, basically. So in order to reference that, we pull it into this script from the project because we saved that object in here. So that's the object that we're going to pull into prefab, and then the one that we have in the main camera, we're going to pull into the dummy.
Okay.
So pull the basketball from the project into the ball prefab, and then pull the basketball that's inside the main camera into the ball dummy. So they're very different. They're basically the same object, but they're going to serve different purposes. The dummy is just there to show us visually that we have a ball in hand in AR. And the prefab is actually the definition of what ball is actually going to be created, and it has physics. So now back in the script, what we're going to do is, so this entire if physics raycast, you're going to make some new lines right here, like right after this if physics raycast and then the curly bracket. Just make a few new lines there. And then here you're going to type if, and then open parentheses, hit dot transform dot name, and then 2 equals. So when you're doing like 2 equals, you're comparing. So that's like an if this is equal to that. When you're doing 1 equal, you're literally making it equal to that. So like only in an if statement is like the 2 equal thing happens. So if hit.transform.name is equal to basketball. So your dummy basketball game object should be called exactly what you type in here. In this instance, it's basketball. So if hit.transform.name is equal to basketball, then open a curly bracket, make a few new lines, and then close a curly bracket. Then you're going to do else. So in all other instances, which is in this case hitting that blue plane for the placing of the basketball, the hoop, the basketball hoop. Else, open a curly bracket, and then all of this stuff that we had before is what you want to encapsulate in that curly bracket. So then right after that stuff, you close another curly bracket. And you'll see that now you have, if the hit transform name is basketball, some stuff will happen. Else, this other stuff, placing the hoop, will happen. So now, this is like this is an important function, and this is probably one of those functions that you're just gonna like use over and over again, and it's a very useful one. Is instantiate. So you type instantiate, and now again, what instantiate does is it basically does the same thing you do when you pull an object into the scene, or you create a new game object. You're instantiating it, but you're doing it like with your mouse. Whereas here, we're going to instantiate it in code, and we're going to tell it exactly where it's going to get created, and then we're going to make it move like a basketball. So in theory, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to click and you're going to just like toss clones. They're just going to keep coming out as many times as you click, basically. So instantiate, open parentheses, and then it's going to ask for what object? Ball prefab, which is that ball prefab we defined earlier, comma, and then it's going to want the position, so we want it to make it on ball dummy dot position. Then we also want to make it the rotation to ball dummy dot rotation. So when it gets created, it'll look just like the dummy ball. You won't even notice it like being a clone. It'll take it the exact position and the rotation of the dummy ball. And then you can close this parentheses. One more thing we have to do, since we're actually we have to store this object here temporarily so we can make the physics on it do something. So right before this instantiate, you're gonna do transform ball clone or something like that is equal to, and then all that instantiate business. But I don't know if it's gonna ask for this, but let's see if it does. And then right before the semicolon, so right before the end of this instantiate, you're gonna do as transform. So you're like transform. You're taking this new temporary ball clone is equal to an instantiated clone, and that it's coming in as a transform. Just like if you don't put this, sometimes it gives you an error. It says like cannot like instantiate as a transform. Did you like forget to say as a transform? Or something like that. Let me just see if that gives me an error. I think it should be good. Yep. So now, right before or right after, I think right before would be good. We should take the ball dummy dot game object dot set active to false. So we should basically just be hiding the ball dummy, and then we're creating the clone right on top of it. And then there's just going to be like a couple of more lines to get this to clone. And then the last piece right after we add the physics of that will be to have a little timer that basically makes the ball dummy come back after like 5 seconds or something like that. And then that's pretty much it. Okay, basically, you're taking the ball dummy that's just on your bottom of your screen to tap it, and the ball should just go like that. The ball dummy, the moment you tap it, gets hidden, and a clone gets put in its place that shoots out. And then after 5 seconds, that ball dummy just shows itself again. So you can click it again and repeat the process. Yep. So let's see where we are. So transform ball clone. Yeah. And then what you're going to do is that thing that we did before. Ball clone dot game object get component, and then open those square arrow brackets, rigid body. Getting the component rigid body, and then dot velocity is equal to, and then what we should do, so this is something obviously we're going to have to test, but we want the velocity to be in the direction of the camera. Wherever the camera is facing, we want it to go in that direction. So the way that you do that, dot velocity should be equal to camera dot main dot transform dot forward. So that's getting the camera's forward direction, and then we're plugging that in as our velocity for the ball. So if the camera's facing that way, the ball will shoot that way. If the camera's facing this way, it will shoot that way. This isn't enough because the ball will only go literally like forward. We also want it to kind of arc. So we need to do it forward and plus upward. And that will kind of give us an arc. That's kind of the idea. So camera.main.transform.forward plus camera.main.transform.up. Now, if we want both of them to be the same speed, we could just finally multiply this in a parentheses, but I think that the forward, I think the up should be stronger than the forward. So I think you can honestly just do dot forward times 5f and dot up times 7f. I don't know if this will be good or not, but there's one way to check. So just copy that down, and then what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna just test here on my computer. I'm gonna bring back that debug camera, basically set it up with all this,
Right.
and then just see if those speeds are okay. And that's how I would recommend you do it. So I'm gonna just turn on this debug camera. And camera. And then I'm gonna just duplicate this dummy basketball, pull it into the debug camera. I'm gonna hide this camera parent and the ball prefab. So the ball dummy and ball prefab. Oops. And just make it, position it to the cameras like this. Weird camera. And I'm just gonna position it like something like this. And if I take my debug camera and like bring it over and kind of just do like a little test. Hopefully it works. Let's see. Too strong. So should like be like maybe 5 and like 2, maybe like 3, like 2 and 3. Let's see that just real quick. Too weak. But you'd probably be shooting a little bit closer, but yeah, I think maybe like 4 and 4.5. See that? Yeah, there it is. It went in. So that's good. And then the last piece, just that timer. So here's another useful function that like it's a little bit more intermediate, but again, if you're gonna do this kind of stuff, you're gonna come across this eventually, and then you're gonna be like, I learned this like on my second day. Like this was great. It's a special kind of function that is like can delay itself from running for a while. So right after void update here, or actually before it even. So right before this void update, you're gonna make a special type of function that's not a void, it's an IE numerator. So it's capital IE, the numerator. And you're gonna call it something like ball show or something like that. And then open parentheses, close, open a curly bracket, close a curly bracket, and then, so it should look like this. And then in there, you're gonna do yield, which is basically just a C# way of just making the whole program just kind of like wait for this. So that's the reason why we're putting in an IE numerator, because if you ever put a yield in like update or in start, the whole thing would freeze until the yield was done. So if you put a yield in this special thing called IE numerator, it doesn't like hold up the whole program. It holds it only itself up, like apart from the rest of everything. And you might have come across this later, this IE numerator and yield, when you're doing some other examples or when you're copying and pasting some code snippets. So at least you'll know what it is. So yield, return new, wait for seconds, like that. Open parentheses, and then we could put like 3F, like 3 seconds. I feel like that. You can change that later to something. And then you can copy and paste where we go this ball dummy.gameObject.set active is equal to false. You put it in here, and instead you just make it equal to true. So after 3 seconds, the ball dummy will be activated again. And then the last part is right after we set this to set active false, we do start coroutine ball show. Open parentheses, close another one, that's it. So I'll break this down. So basically the ball dummy gets disabled and then we start the timer. Then we clone a ball and we shoot the ball. Timer goes out, ball gets activated again, allowing you to click it again, allowing it to be disabled again, start the timer again, a new ball comes in, we shoot it, timer runs out, 3 seconds, the dummy ball comes back again, and it just loops
3
like that.
seconds after that.
After
last
you
event.
hide it, like yeah, after you click it, it's 3 seconds,
Mm.
and then it shows right back up. So let's try that right now. So I'll go in here. I'll tap the ball. There it is. 3 seconds later, there it is.
Ah,
Tap it again. There it is. That's it. And that will work. The angle will work because as you're changing the angle of this, the angle also changes on the shot. You get it? So if you shoot it like really low, you probably won't make it. See? So there will be some skill involved. You will actually have to like.
so the key here, I mean, the reason why it's a challenge is because you're placing it on your target surface.
And you're trying
Now
to
it's
like
fixed.
actually, yeah,
And
exactly.
now your camera is what really is positioning the ball, and it's not as easy as what you're just doing here, where it's everything's kind of
Yep.
static.
Yep. You're literally going to be holding the phone and you're going to try to get the right distance and the right angle and trying to make it in.
But in terms of the strength of how it's being thrown, it's fixed because we
Right now it's fixed, yeah. I've done some examples where like you hold and then there's like this
There's a
like
meter,
meter
yeah.
and stuff like that. But I think that might be like too much for
Yeah.
now.
This is too much.
I know. But it's like it's a good little intro, so you can kind of get at least how this type of stuff works. It's definitely been made much easier than it was like a long time ago, or even not even that long ago. So now I'm just gonna put everything back. You know, I'm gonna actually disable this debug camera and enable my camera parent again. Everything should already be set there. Yep, my ball is there, everything's there. And are you all getting any errors when you press play? Make sure you check that, and then if not, then you should be able to build. So you're semicolon. So just double click the error so it kind of shows us exactly there. Yeah, now you can go back to the script. Semicolon right after that. You almost had it. Yeah, that's a common like beginner mistake. It's not a big one, so you should save it definitely. And let's see what else. That was just that one error. So if it runs, then there's no errors, and then you should be able to build to your iPhone. Yep. So you should go ahead and just build to the iPhone. What about yours? Any errors?
Just this camera thing.
Yeah, that's just some
Just this the AR.
yeah. But if you press play, does it let you press play? Go in it. Yeah. So it should be good. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna try to build this. Mm-hmm. So it's the same process as before. You go in there, change the name of your project. Select your device and play. When you tap it, does it go?
Yeah, shoots.
Yep.
I have to,
You have to
That's the
adjust
thing
the this. It's too centered.
yeah, so I can lower that.
Yeah.
Does it, do I change the camera or I change the
No,
object?
just the object inside the child of, as a child of the main camera. You
Oh,
just
that one.
you just move it down a little. Yeah.
And the play ball will follow wherever that starts.
Hmm?
So I just have to
Yeah,
move
exactly.
the dummy. Okay.
Yep. You just have to move the dummy.
Let me see if my surface it should pick up. There it goes.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I just need to fix the where that's placed. Right on.
Yeah, I know that last part is a little bit tricky. Like I said, it's a little more intermediate raycasts and like instantiating, but I think the important thing is to know that it's possible and how like you can think about how it's done.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
could not write the
Just
device.
getting the exposure to all those things. Okay, so
The ball or the hoop? How tiny is it? I think the plane might. Hmm. Oh, it's here. I think it detected it like it thought the plane was like somewhere under or something like that.
Won't have like a ball.
Maybe it's not in the camera's view. Let's see. Huh. You can also get rid of the debug plane. You don't need that. And then. Oh, did you have a ball in the beginning? Does it start with the ball?
No.
Sure, it's the newest version.
I like just named it the same thing.
Try re-exporting the Xcode project under a different name. So you can close Xcode out completely. Just from down here, kind of like, oh, that's okay. And then just try to re-export. And just give it a new name. Sometimes I have that problem where, like, if you overwrite the Xcode project, sometimes it doesn't get the most newest one. I don't know why it does that, but it does.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like, wait, I made the changes.
All right, so
Ah, that's cool. Are you too far?
giving me some bugs. Oh, is my backboard not on a backboard for some reason?
It goes through it.
Yeah, right. Oh, stupid. I just realized. I didn't put any of the hoops or any of that stuff as a child object of the whole basketball thing.
Oh,
You get it?
we need to do that. Right?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. So
So the rim and backboard.
yeah, the rim and the backboard, all that stuff, you need to pull it into your basketball object. The hoop or whatever. Sorry, not the basketball. It's called basketball for me. I call it hoop.
Oh, right, because they're separate.
Yeah, so now it'll do it properly. And then make sure once you're done with that, you could just disable this to hide it once you're done. Just to hide the whole hoop. The hoop, yeah, because it turns itself on when you place it.
Let's make it a child object of like this whole thing.
Yeah, so take the rim and the backboard, yeah, because you're only moving the hoop, you're not moving the rim and the backboard that we created.
I
You
see
know?
what you mean.
Yeah.
If you're gonna work with it, it turns itself on.
Yeah.
That's why it checked itself.
Yep. So yeah, you can disable it before you build. So just pull all the rim and stuff you've made, just drag it into the thing, and yeah, then it should be good. You just click it, and then on the right side here is the enable disable. Now as for your ball not showing up, I'm not sure because it should be. No, that's good. I'm just saying I'm not sure why your ball isn't showing up on your screen. Oh yeah, that's how you disable it. You just save the scene, and then you can build. But I don't know why your ball isn't showing up. What if you just put your ball like more in the center? Can you try that? See if it's in the camera parent. In there. Maybe a little bit more out too. Out more like yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, maybe that. Let me check your script too. Okay. Just want to make sure that it's not being disabled somewhere. Try it. Yeah, I think it might have been that you were just it was just building the old project because unless you give it like a new Xcode folder, sometimes it does that. I personally, whenever I'm building for ARKit or any of that stuff, I literally just every time I have a new export, it's a new folder. I just kind of number them like this, so I never get that confusion. All right, try this again.
So the maximum number of apps in development for processing.
You might have to delete some apps on your phone that you've been exporting. Um, he had that same problem yesterday.
So sometimes, when I tap on this, it works, right? It's great, but it wants to reposition the basketball.
Well, if you hit behind it, if you hit one of the blue things, then it will reposition it.
Okay. And I still have the art balls running on there, so the little dots are
Oh yeah,
still
that's
showing
a whole
up.
other story. Yeah, that she does too. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Good. Tap it. See if it. Open that.
Oh, it only does that if I tap it. I'm not tapping on the ball. It's moving the basket. I see.
It remembers. There's other interesting things you can do. You can add like a material to the ball. Like you can make it bouncy.
How do you do that? Is that water?
Nope, it's easy. So So to make it bouncy, all you have to do is in your project right here, you right click. So to make it bouncy, you create something called a physics material. So you just kind of right click in the project here, create, and then it should be like physic material. You see it like towards the bottom. And you can call it like bouncy or whatever. And then there's like, there's some things there like friction and bounciness. So you can make the bounciness, something like 0.4 or whatever, something more. It's like, honestly, I don't know the settings on this. Like, I just kind of guess and check when I do it. But, you increase the bounciness, then there's the bounciness combined, whether you want it to multiply or average. Or, like, again, I don't know exactly what that means other than when I test, and I just try to get the right bounciness.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last thing is then you get your ball prefab, which is saved in here, and then if you just scroll to the sphere collider, you see right there it has a non-physic material. See that right there in the sphere collider? You just drag that in there, and now it'll have like it'll actually like bounce like a basketball. Yep. Again, you got to tweak the numbers on this bouncy material. It's kind of like guess and check.
It's interesting because everything is here, but because everything is here, there's so many things you have to remember where to place it.
Yeah.
Where they belong. I guess there's an answer for everything, not something.
Yeah, and the scripting reference is great to go through and just kind of see all the things that are there. I did that like my first few years. I would just kind of browse through it. Like, oh, I didn't know they had this one. Oh, they have that too. Like, I'm pretty sure they have a really good like feature directory somewhere on Unity's website with like all of the features, so you can kind of just read through them and kind of have an idea of what they have, what they don't have. They have pathfinding, like AIs that can navigate around obstacles built in. They have lots of graphics features like occlusion culling, like there's a big building in front of you, but then there's a lot of more stuff behind that building. The stuff behind the building won't get drawn, so it'll like save you like rendering.
And all that,
Yeah, like then there's a lot of like cool things. There's even ragdolls, if you know what those are. It's just like a character model. You turn it into just like a ragdoll that just like falls over.
Whoa.
Which is part of the physics stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's other cool stuff like that. But yeah, that pretty much covers like the Learn AR weekend. I think like covered yesterday the basics of just setting them all up and stuff.
Yeah.
And like kind of went in a little bit to like a use case, the AR portal, which I think is like one of the cooler use cases for AR.
Yeah.
And then today we covered like scripting. So like I know like some of it might have been a little too much. I know it's a lot to cover in a day, but I think you guys got a good hang of it in a day. And like semicolons and some curly brackets here and there, that's nothing. So don't worry about that. That's like totally normal. Like everyone makes those mistakes. It's all about just like keeping track of which ones you open. You always make sure you close them, and every line always ends in a semicolon. Otherwise, it'll tell you like semicolon expected. Did you want to put a semicolon there? I'll just kind of say it. You can like copy and paste codes off the internet now with a little more confidence. Kind of know what's going on there a little bit, and like definitely I think if you start to go on and just want to learn more coding, there's lots of like on YouTube, lots of just specifically C# coding in Unity and best practices, and you'll have like a pretty much better understanding of it. It won't be so scary. I think it's not so scary, right?
No.
Like it's like it
overwhelming.
could get overwhelming,
Yeah,
but it's not scary anymore,
no, it's
right?
not like a mystery or.
Yeah, like it's dispelling the mystery, and knowing that you could do it, like, and you could see that you could achieve a lot with like not that many lines of code.
Yeah.
You're just knowing which lines of code and where to look up like the references and stuff. But that's I think the most important thing. Giving you the tools to be able to do your own research and have no fear and just kind of go in. But yeah, we also covered like the 360 video stuff, how to make a 360 video or in AR or in VR. You could pretty much bring in all the stuff that you're doing with AR with VR as well. It's pretty close. But yeah, like, and it's important to also know the concepts, like these planes and placing on planes, and like kind of like how the AR interacts with that in a way, and that the main camera is basically like the phone where it is in space,
Right.
stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We still got like another 45, 50 minutes or whatever. If y'all want to like cover any specific stuff or have any questions about anything, I'm open to it.
So what? You mentioned that Unity has conferences.
Yeah.
So what are some good places to go to like see what's going on with AR, the latest things?
They don't come to New York like as often as they are in some other places, but Meetup is a great place to find out about what's kind of going on with any AR stuff or VR stuff. But Unity doesn't really like do the conferences that often. They have like every year they have a developer day. That's what they call it, and all the Unity developers come, from New York City, which are interested, and they're like. Some people come down from other places too. They're usually held at Microsoft, like the 8th Ave one.
Oh yeah.
It's not that far from here, but yeah, like they kind of come in and they just demo some of their stuff. They were demoing HoloLens and Windows mixed reality stuff like last time. They showed that little feature I showed you, the 360 video thingy. But yeah, they're always doing some interesting stuff. Like, but it's not that often that Unity themselves comes to the city. They're mostly based in Seattle and in Holland, in the Netherlands. So they bless us with their presence like semi-frequently. Like,
This is cool. I would never have guessed that I'd walk away,
Yeah,
end of the weekend with this much like.
I tried like looking at tutorials online and was just so overwhelmed by like the layout of it, I guess.
but when you see it, the layout's actually really empowering. It's really sectioned off into really just what you need. And like now that you know it and you've played with it, you've done a few examples and stuff, I bet you next time it won't be so overwhelming. you'll probably get some more of stuff than most of these video series. The first 5-6 videos are just like some beginner stuff. You'll already be past that. You'll watch it like I know this already. Like skip it. Like so yeah, but just definitely try it out again, and you can learn a lot from the online stuff. I personally learned everything myself, but I've always been like just really persistent. Like even the stuff that I didn't get at all, I'd go through it like no matter how frustrating it was and stuff. And I guess that's how I became a teacher. Just like I've been teaching for more than like 2.5 years now, just specifically Unity.
Right.
But I've taught like other stuff before too. But yeah, I mean like I've always just been dabbling with like the cutting edge stuff and doing my contracts and working for startups. And so I've had to do stuff that there hasn't even been tutorials for or anything.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I mean like for me it's just kind of like second nature, but it can become second nature for you too. It's just like just getting past that like initial like I had like before I even tried anything with Unity, I already knew 3D and I already knew some programming, web programming and stuff. So it wasn't that scary for me to write a few lines of code or to mess with some 3D models in 3D space. I was already a hardcore gamer before that too,
Right,
so
so you kinda
the
have
3D environment was just like
orientation.
and stuff. So all that helps. It all just kind of adds to it. But yeah, just practice makes perfect. Like the more you practice, the more examples you do.
So I saw you brought up Blender. Do you use Blender as your 3D modeler?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
is that a standard tool?
For me, yep, Blender.
Is that easy or hard to learn? Or is
It's got a learning curve. I'd say it's harder to learn than Unity in some respects, but like
I mean, it's in the same as like
everything's
Maya
keyboard
and
shortcuts.
all those.
Maya's actually, I think Maya is like it's really unintuitive in my opinion. So like for me, like Blender was the right choice. I did 3D Max before,
Oh yeah.
but like as a student and stuff like that. But once I started doing work professionally, like you have to buy the real license. Otherwise, you can't use the student license. You can't use those for selling your stuff.
Yeah.
So I made a decision back then to just drop all the Autodesk stuff and just learn Blender.
Mhm.
And it was hard at first. It was, it really was. But I did things like I printed keyboard shortcuts, put them on my desk there, and just always referenced it and just
Sure.
did
Well, you got it.
same thing. Did YouTube videos. Get a second monitor if you don't have a second monitor.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, there's so many, like, panels. Is it helpful to have like maybe one that has the game preview and then
Sure, yeah, for working.
Yeah.
But I was more saying get a second monitor for like watch a YouTube video and then work on your monitor.
Oh, yeah.
Helps tremendously. Like
Okay.
it's $150, get it. It's so worth it.
Right.
If you don't have it, just plug it into a TV. That also helps. So like yeah, second monitor, watching a YouTube video and then doing it, just like so much easier than watching a YouTube video then coming back. You already forget what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
By the time you're all tabbing.
Yeah.
But
Like this was helpful watching you and then doing this.
exactly. So do that for yourself at home, your learning environment. Get a second monitor, and it'll help tremendously. That's what I did. When I was learning Blender, I watched the guy do it on Blender, and I do it at the same time he's doing it. Because it's easy to forget. Like if you watch something for 10 seconds, then you go back and you're like, wait, what did he just do?
Yeah.
You're lost. Like
You can't pause. I mean, you can pause, but then
it takes a while. Yeah.
it's just
So
the switching.
So like copyright on the assets, like you can just like near Google and things and stuff, and like
well, no, it depends. Some things are like paid assets and stuff, but even those, like, they're not that strict with like, if you're working with a buddy on a project, you can share the assets that you bought, and if he takes those assets and puts them on his flash drive, no one's gonna like come after him or anything. It's and the stuff that I was looking up, like, there's a lot of like free, non-copyright 3D stuff online. I typically tend to go for those. Otherwise, I mean, they won't let you download it without a credit card, if it's something that's paid. But assets, graphics, music, stuff like that, some of it falls under fair use, especially like if you modify it beyond recognition. That's kind of like how the law states it. like if you download some 3D models and it says like this is copyright, you need a trademark. The person needs to like, credit this person. Like if you modify that 3D model enough, then it's yours. Like it doesn't belong to them. Same thing with other things as well. Pretty hard to enforce that
I don't know
stuff.
how to 3D model, so I like.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, and like that's why there's a lot of great assets already out there, and then there's also like I wouldn't recommend the 3D scanning solutions. They're not so good yet, but they will be soon enough. Um, and yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of like 3D warehouse type websites that have a lot of 3D models already made. Not all of them are game optimized though, so that's another thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people do Unity without doing any 3D. There's a lot of really beautiful assets on the asset store. I even just go for just assets because it's just easier. Like I can model stuff, but it just takes so long. I'm probably bound to find whatever I'm modeling, someone already did it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. There's other things like sometimes I want like a Roman column. Can't find it.
Really?
Yeah, I just can't find it. I've had to make Roman columns and just make it.
Huh.
Have fun making it.
Yeah,
I make a nice
just
Roman column, but like just can't find it. Like you look for it, just nope. Find like really crappy ones. Like, I can make something better.
Yeah.
So there's some very like specific things that sometimes can be hard to find.
So I know on Euphoria, they had like the different things that you can tag, image tag.
Mhm.
There's an image, and there was a 3D object.
Yeah.
And you said you can make that in Blender and upload maybe like an object like
Well,
that, or is it something?
I've never used it, but I'm assuming you're supposed to either if you have like a CAD model of the product,
Right.
like a chair or whatever, the actual dimensions and everything, or if you have like a 3D scan of an object, then that's
That's what you would use.
yeah, like if you're trying to do AR on top of a statue or something.
Yeah.
You scan the statue, you pull it in, it should technically work.
Is there like an app for scan, like 3D scanning?
Yeah, there you usually have to get an adapter. Like there's like Structure Scanner.
Oh,
You can look
okay.
that up. It's like for iOS, for iPads.
Okay.
It's an alright one. There's something else too. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. There's ones where you can take. I know there's apps just for regular phones that you can take multiple photos of
And it'll
something from
assemble
multiple. Kind of, yeah. But it'll be a little messy. But yeah, Structure Scanner is like I don't know if it's $100 or something, $100 that just plugs into your iPad or I don't know if it works for iPhone. I think it's just iPad, but it's basically like a little Kinect type device. Kinect 3D scans.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it pretty decently. But same thing, you'll get something kind of messy, and you kind of have to have someone that knows some 3D to at least clean it up.
Mm.
That's the thing with 3D scanning,
What would you clean that up in?
like a 3D program.
Like you could do it in
Blender,
like
yeah,
or something?
for example, yeah.
So my sister's an architect. Like, could she do that?
Maybe. Yeah.
She knows. I think she. I think she has to.
Yeah, I'm sure she does. It's just architects sometimes use CAD programs, which aren't. They're a little bit different. They're specifically for accurate measurements and like material strength and that kind of stuff. But like she probably knows all the concepts. It wouldn't be that hard for her to do some Maya or some Blender. I doubt she'd probably like scout. Oh, Blender. Oh man. Like people that are like really into the pro like 3D stuff,
Yeah.
like Blender is just kind of like a no-go zone for them. Oh,
Yeah.
no. I'm using my pro tools, and which I totally get that. But if she's an architect, if she does CAD, she probably does CAD modeling. But it's, I don't think it's that far off.
I don't remember what it's called. It's like
Katia?
frog. Like it's like a frog. Like Revit.
I don't know. Sounds kind of
I don't
familiar.
remember. I just remember like I have a frog association with the word. Rhino.
Rhino?
Yeah.
Maybe. I think I've heard of it. I'm not sure. Yeah, our next free meetup is gonna be in March, like March 27th. It's not scheduled yet, but it'll be up there. I've been actually considering doing a 3D modeling class with Blender, so just an intro
I'm
to
down.
3D modeling. I know that shit's gonna be packed, man.
I'm down. Just.
I know people have been asking me for it, and it's like the last class was a full house. I mean, we had no more chairs left. It was full. So the 3D modeling one is probably gonna be even more full. Yeah.
How much is a license for Blender?
Free. It's free. It's open source. It's worked on by like community of developers that contribute their time. They're always releasing new versions. It's more than just a 3D modeling tool too. It's a compositing tool, rendering tool. It's even a game engine. It's a full-fledged game engine that people used to develop in before Unity was really a thing.
Oh.
Yeah. You can code in Python in it to like make your own like stuff. You can do simulations in it, like fluid simulations and other sorts of things, cloth simulations. It does a lot of things besides just like modeling. You can do sculpting, 3D sculpting in it. But most like 3D modeling programs now have some sculpting as well.
So to build games, your top tools. What are your top tools?
Unity, Blender, Photoshop,
That's it.
pretty much.
Those will pretty much get you.
Yeah.
the game.
Photoshop's a must.
Yeah.
Or GIMP, you know, if people don't want to pay for Photoshop. I'm gonna stop this screen recording. So we got like about 12-ish, 15 gigs of video or something like that. So I'm gonna chop it all up and have it all uploaded on YouTube, like, you know, some days, a few days. All right.